I'm Rowan Pierce. I'm 34, a single mom, and a full-time ER nurse in Chicago. The kind of person who survives on caffeine, shift work, and duct-taped hope. My family, on the other hand, old money, clean reputations, and generational legacies polished to a shine. My father, Gideon, sits on nonprofit boards and gives TED Talks about ethical leadership. My brother Callum, he graduated Ivy League and now runs a boutique investment firm with his perfect teeth and perfect lies. Me, I've always been the afterthought, the strong one, which really means the disposable one. The one no one expects to ask questions, just to show up, smile, and keep her distance from family business. I never got the expensive gifts, the inheritance planning meetings, or the whispered side deals. Just a cheap keychain from my dad on my last birthday and a patronizing hug. So imagine my shock when he looked me dead in the eye on Christmas Eve and said, "You now own a $390,000 apartment." And imagine what it felt like when I realized it wasn't a gift, it was a trap. Dinner had been quiet, too quiet for a Pierce holiday. The wine was flowing, the duck was over-roasted as always, and the table was laid with silverware that hadn't seen daylight since the Obama administration. I held up the keychain, a tiny bronze compass with a rusted loop. "Thank you for the birthday gift, Dad. I keep it on my car keys." Forks stopped moving. Callum glanced down at his plate like he'd been caught cheating on a test. Elaine blinked twice, robotic. Gideon dabbed his lips with a linen napkin. "That's not all I gave you, Rowan." He smiled, small and cold. "You now own an apartment in West Loop. $390. All yours." Time paused. I heard it, the faint hum of the fridge behind me, the clock ticking. Then I laughed. "What?" I asked, scanning faces. "That's a joke, right?" Callum's chair creaked. "It's not a joke." "I didn't sign for a mortgage," I snapped. I'd remember signing away the next 20 years of my life. "You didn't have to." Gideon cut into his duck. "It's done." Done? My stomach flipped. I felt the kind of cold that starts behind your ribs. Outside, the Chicago wind sliced through my coat like I wasn't wearing one. I dug out my phone and opened my email. A new message blinked at me. Subject: "Welcome to your mortgage. Final confirmation." Attached were 6 PDFs. The last one read, Pierce Rowan _ final PDF. I tapped it. There was my name, my address, my social security number, my digital signature, on a loan totaling $390,000. Interest rate, 6.4%. 30-year term. My hands trembled. I hadn't signed a thing. Behind me, someone crossed the street. I turned fast. A man with a beanie walking a dog. Or pretending to. He didn't look at me. I ducked into my car and locked the doors. Serena answered on the second ring. "You okay?" No, I exhaled hard. "There's a mortgage under my name. I didn't sign it." A pause. "Send me everything. Now." I forwarded the documents, then stared at the keychain in my palm. A compass. A symbol of direction. Or disorientation. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Silence. Then, "You should stop asking questions." They hung up. I stared into the dark windshield, heart pounding. "To a future we can't escape," I whispered. My reflection stared back at me, pale, angry. I didn't sign anything, but the bank thought otherwise. Snow slushed under my boots as I stood in front of the West Loop apartment, keys in my hand, heart hammering like I was about to rob the place. I hadn't asked for this, hadn't signed anything. Yet here I was, with a lease agreement I didn't authorize and a building concierge smiling like I belonged here. "Welcome back, Ms. Pierce," he said, scanning the key fob. "New furniture came in last Thursday." New furniture. I stepped inside. The elevator dinged open like it had been waiting for me. The apartment on the 22nd floor was pristine. Sleek black fixtures. Pale gray stone countertops. Velvet bar stools, lined up with military precision. It smelled like lemon polish and something sterile, like no one had ever actually lived here. Except for the envelope. It sat on the marble island. No name, no return address. Just my initials. Inside, a single-page mortgage statement. $2,563.74. Due in 48 hours. I grabbed the counter for balance. Who the hell sets up a 48-hour payment window on a six-figure mortgage? I snapped a photo, sent it to Serena with a caption, "We need to talk. Urgent." Then I tore open every drawer, every cabinet, silverware, plates, a box of protein bars, a set of envelopes with my name printed professionally on them. The first line read, "Welcome to your new life, Ms. Pierce." Bile rose. I opened my bank app. Nothing new. No deposit, no transfers. Just me, my son, and the $52 I had left after rent. My phone buzzed. "Serena, that's not a gift. That's a legal liability." 3 minutes later, she called. "Who signed it?" I didn't. Then, "Someone forged your e-signature. Can you send me the metadata on the file?" I forwarded everything, pacing the apartment. The windows stretched from floor to ceiling, giving a perfect view of the city lights. Too perfect. Too exposed. The back of my neck prickled. There was a camera in the smoke detector. I pulled a stool over, climbed, twisted the cap, and yes, a lens blinked red once, then died. My heart climbed into my throat. I shoved the keychain in my coat and got out. Back in my own apartment, Noah was asleep on the couch, still clutching the stuffed dinosaur he'd named Chompers. The babysitter, Delaney, was texting on the floor. "Anything weird happen?" I asked. She looked up. There was a guy outside earlier. Said he was looking for apartment 6B. But we're 6D, right? I didn't answer. Serena met me at her office. She worked in a mid-tier firm that mostly handled estate planning, but she was ruthless with details. She spread the files across her desk like a battlefield. "This signature," she said, tapping my name, "was generated using Adobe Sign API, but your email was never involved. They spoofed it. They submitted it from a masked IP. You never got a confirmation. Legally, you're screwed unless we can prove intent. I didn't sign it." "Can you prove that?" I hesitated. "No." She exhaled. "Then we're going to need a counter-narrative. Fast." I sat back, dizzy. "My dad said it was a gift," I muttered. "Then he gifted you debt." Her eyes met mine. "Rowan, sometimes people bury you in paper so you don't notice you're already in the ground." Later that night, I went through my old emails. One from my father 2 weeks before Christmas. It read, "Looking forward to seeing you, sweetheart. Let's make this a fresh start." Attached was a PDF titled Holiday Surprise.pdf. I'd never opened it. I did now. It was the initial application form, pre-filled. My name, my SSN, my nurse license number. The signature line was blank. No timestamp. No authentication. I felt like throwing up. My phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Stop digging." Then, "Next time we won't be polite." I dropped the phone. Every breath felt sharp-edged. Outside, someone knocked on the hallway door. 2 knocks. Pause. 1 knock. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The peephole showed no one. I backed away, locked the deadbolt, pushed a chair under the doorknob, sat on the couch with the lights off, holding my phone like a weapon. I whispered to no one. You don't need to shoot a bullet to kill someone. Sometimes you just have to sign their name. If you tell anyone, your son loses you. Noah didn't come out when the bell rang. I waited by the kindergarten gate, gripping my coat like armor, watching other parents hug their kids, exchange jokes, wave at teachers. The bell rang again. Still no Noah. I moved fast. The front office was too calm, too still. The secretary looked up with a tight smile. You're Noah's mother, right? Yes. Where is he? Oh, he was picked up early. Someone from Child Protective Services. My mouth went dry. What? She blinked. A woman came in, had all the paperwork. Said there was a situation at home. Something about custody reassignment. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I turned and ran. 10 blocks. Red lights. My breath cut against the wind. I didn't think. I moved. The way you do when someone has ripped your life from your chest. When I reached home, Noah was inside. Safe. Watching cartoons. Chompers in his lap. Delaney looked up from the kitchen table. He was sick, she said. I picked him up early. I sent you a text. Did you not see? I stared at her. You told the school you were CPS. Her face went blank. I told them I was the emergency contact. That's what your form said. No, I shook my head. That's not what I wrote. Rowan, get out. She left without a word. I locked the door, bolted it, pulled Noah into my arms, and whispered a truth I hoped he'd never understand. People don't always take you with love, baby. Sometimes they take you because it hurts someone else. At midnight, Serena called. You need to hear this. The audio played through her laptop, a recording from inside a boardroom. I recognized Callum's voice. She's disposable. We've used her profile for years. No red flags. Quiet. Compliant. That's why we chose her. I stopped breathing. Another voice. Male. Unfamiliar. What if she figures it out? She won't. Even if she does, she won't fight. They were talking about me like I was a lab rat. A tool. A name on a form. A pawn. I whispered, so that's what I've been all these years. Not anymore, Serena said. The next morning, I drove to my father's house. Gideon opened the door with his usual calm. Perfectly dressed. Not a wrinkle on his soul. I didn't wait. I walked in. You put a mortgage in my name. He shut the door. It was necessary. For what? Covering your mistakes. For keeping the legacy intact. He poured coffee like we were discussing garden renovations. You have no idea how delicate the balance is. One public failure, one scandal, and everything collapses. You chose me because I wouldn't scream. You were always the stable one, Rowan. Reliable. Obedient. I'm not anymore. He stirred his drink. You don't want to start a war you can't win. I didn't start it, I said. You did. The moment you sold me for leverage. He looked at me. No warmth. No regret. You were always just an asset. I left before I broke something. That night, a burner phone buzzed on my kitchen table. A number I didn't recognize, but the message was clear. Check your back porch. I did. A manila envelope. No sender. Inside a printed spreadsheet. Dates. Bank transfers. IP addresses. Callum's name. Rowan Pierce, listed as cosigner. Transfer amount. $220,000 Caymans. Account ending in 1143. Transfer amount. $150,000 trust fund. C. Pierce Jr. I read it twice. Then again. Callum had been laundering the money through my name. He hadn't just known. He'd orchestrated the setup. He had a child. A trust fund. Built on debt they buried in me. I sat on the floor and whispered. They weren't just using me. They were building a future on my grave. My phone vibrated again. New number. Blocked. A voicemail this time. I pressed play. A man's voice. Calm. Familiar. Gideon. You were never supposed to survive this, Rowan. The voicemail wouldn't stop playing in my head. You were never supposed to survive this, Rowan. I played it again at 2:17 a.m., standing barefoot in my kitchen, clutching a knife in one hand and a lukewarm mug of coffee in the other. The digital clock on the microwave blinked like a heartbeat. Someone had bugged my apartment. Someone had followed me. My own family had buried me alive in paper and called it legacy. I whispered to myself, sometimes the monsters were your last name. I met Serena in a downtown parking garage. She didn't speak right away, just handed me a flash drive. What's this? Security cam footage from the notary office where your signature was filed. I had a friend pull it. I loaded it on my laptop, fingers ice cold. The video loaded. Blurry. Dated December 3rd. A woman entered the frame. Dark coat. Shoulder-length hair. Glasses. From behind, she looked like me. Pause, I said. Go back. We zoomed in. She turned toward the clerk. It wasn't me, but it was someone using my face. Deep fake. I asked. Possibly. Or someone very skilled in impersonation. Either way, they had ID. And it passed. My breath stilled. They used a burner identity based on your credentials, Serena said. Nursing license, full SSN, even your emergency contact list. Rowan, someone in your family gave them all of it. Back at the apartment, I opened the emergency, safe hidden in the closet. Inside, Noah's birth certificate, my passport, an old hard drive, all untouched, except my social security card was gone. I visited the Department of Buildings the next morning, one of those gray offices that smelled like wet paper and dread. I waited in line behind a man arguing about flood insurance, then slid my ID across the counter. I need access to records of any property or debt filed under my name in the past 18 months. The clerk, a woman with bored eyes and a nasal voice, typed, then paused. You've got 6. 6 what? 6 properties. I nearly dropped my phone. What properties? She printed the list. For in Chicago, 1 in St. Louis, 1 in Arizona, all filed under my name, all purchased in the last 14 months. Mortgage totals? Just shy of $2.1 million. I whispered, they've been doing this longer than I knew. Noah was quiet when I picked him up. Too quiet. He held a note in his hand, folded twice. Where'd you get this? I asked. He shrugged. Locker. I unfolded it. Block letters. Cut from magazine clippings. If you report anything, you won't see him again. Noah looked up at me. What's wrong, Mommy? I smiled, the kind of smile that breaks your gums. Nothing, baby. Everything's okay. Lie. Some people write notes when they're scared, but you don't need to be. You're safe with me. Lie. Because I didn't even know who me was anymore. At midnight, I called the number from the voicemail. Blocked. This time, someone answered. A woman. Rowan Pierce, she said, voice flat. You've been a very lucrative identity. Who are you? Someone who knows your family better than you do. What do you want? She laughed. It's not about what I want. It's about what he promised and never delivered. Gideon. Click. I stood in the shower, fully clothed, water scalding. I couldn't wash the panic out, couldn't burn off the betrayal, but I could hear my mother's voice in my head, the only soft thing I remembered about childhood. When they treat you like a tool, sharpen yourself into a weapon. So I started digging. Bank records, emails, trust funds, and in the middle of it, one name kept appearing. Nolan Sutter. I didn't know him, but his name was on 2 of the properties. I Googled him. He was an ex-con, wire fraud, ran a fake crypto hedge fund 3 years ago. Guess who paid his bail? Callum Pierce. I called Serena. Find everything you can on Nolan Sutter. I think he's the handler. You think he's the one calling the shots? No, I said. I think he's the one laundering it. And the one following you. I hesitated. I think he's the one who's about to disappear. Because 20 minutes ago, his address was public. Now it was gone. Erased. The first rule of survival is simple. Don't let them know you're scared. The second is harder. Don't let them know you're prepared. I broke both. Because at 6:42 a.m., my bank account was frozen. At 6:44, my nursing license portal showed under review. At 6:46, my phone rang from a private number, and a man said, "You're making this expensive." Cut. I was in my car before the call ended. Noah in the back seat, backpack crooked, his shoelace untied. "Where are we going, Mommy?" "Field trip," I said. "Surprise adventure." Lie. Again. Sometimes the truth is a luxury you can't afford. Serena met me in an underground parking structure that smelled like oil and wet concrete. She slid into the passenger seat, breath tight. "They hit your credentials," she said. "That's retaliation. Classic pressure tactic." "From who?" She hesitated. "Not just Nolan. I traced 2 shell companies back to Elaine." I laughed once. Sharp. Ugly. "My stepmother? The charity gala queen." Serena's jaw clenched. "She's registered in Delaware under another name. Real estate laundering. Asset flipping. She's clean now, but she wasn't always." The pieces shifted. Gideon. Callum. Elaine. Nolan. Family dinner. Crime board. "You don't steal this big alone," Serena said. "This is a system." I whispered. "Then I'm not breaking a man. I'm breaking a machine." We dropped Noah at Serena's sister's place. No questions. No explanations. Just a hug and a bag of clothes. Serena leaned close to him. "You're safe here. Super safe." He nodded. Too serious for 7. In the hallway I paused. Looked at him. Memorized the curve of his cheek. The dimple when he smiled. Because someone once told me, the fastest way to control a person is to make them afraid to lose what they love. I refused. We met Travis Dean at a coffee shop under the L tracks. The train thundered overhead every 3 minutes, like a countdown. He was older, gray at the temples, eyes that had seen too much. "You've got 10 minutes, he said. "Then I pretend I never met you." Serena slid the flash drive across the table. He plugged it in. Watched. Didn't blink. "You know what this is," he said finally. "This is organized financial homicide." I said, "They're using my identity to bury their debt." He nodded. "And if you talk, they'll bury you." "Then publish it," I said. He studied me. "You understand what happens when this goes public?" "Yes," I said. "Everything burns." He smiled. Thin. Grim. Good. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text. Check the playground. My blood went cold. I ran. The park was 2 blocks away. Empty swings. Wind cutting through plastic slides. I saw the van before I heard it. White. No markings. Parked wrong. I moved faster. The side door slid open. Noah wasn't inside. Instead, an empty booster seat. A juice box. And taped to the seat. "Walk away. Or next time it's real." The door slammed. The van sped off. I stood there shaking. Fists clenched so hard my nails broke skin. Serena arrived seconds later. "Rowan." I handed her the note. She read it, then looked up. "They're escalating." I said very calmly, "So am I." We went dark. Burner phones. Cash. No home Wi-Fi. No patterns. Serena pulled favors. Travis pulled strings. We packaged everything. The notary footage. The property records. The audio. The transfers. The fake CPS pickup. We built a digital dead man switch. If I disappeared, everything would release. A friend once told me, "Power isn't in controlling the board, it's in being willing to flip the table." I was ready. At 11:32 p.m., my doorbell rang. I didn't answer. At 11:34, someone knocked. Hard. At 11:35, my phone buzzed. Text, "We can still fix this." Another, "Your father is very tired." Another, "Your son is very valuable." I opened the door. Callum stood there. Suit. Perfect hair. Smile strained. Rowan, he said softly, you're making a mess. You're standing in it, I said. He stepped closer. You don't understand how deep this goes. Oh, I do, I said. You used me as collateral. You let them threaten my child. He swallowed. It was never supposed to get that far. I leaned in. It always goes that far. That's the point. His phone buzzed. He glanced down. Color drained. I saw it. The crack. I whispered, they don't need you anymore, do they? He didn't answer. Because his silence was louder than a confession. I closed the door in his face, locked it, and sent the file. The moment the file went live, everything cracked. Not just online, not just in the press, in the family. The dominoes fell fast. Elaine was the first to vanish. Offshore accounts, Caribbean phone ping, a warrant trailing her like perfume. Callum lawyered up within an hour, but the SEC showed up before his latte went cold. Dad didn't say a word, just retreated behind closed doors, the shutters drawn, like if the world couldn't see him, it wouldn't collapse around him. But it did. The feds froze assets. The real estate scheme blew open like a ruptured gas line. Every shell company, every fake signature, every stolen dollar. I had proof, and I had motive, but I also had one thing they didn't. I survived the fire because I learned to live in it. The public hearing was brutal. Cameras, reporters, 100 eyes trained on my every blink. The prosecutor called me a key witness. My testimony wasn't just about numbers. It was about betrayal, coercion, the weight of legacy used like a weapon. I was the disposable one, I said on the stand, the one they thought wouldn't fight back. I looked straight at Gideon. He didn't blink. Power doesn't scream when it loses. It whispers. Outside the courthouse, Serena waited with Noah. He ran to me. Mommy, are we done? Not yet, I said, holding him tight. But soon. She handed me a paper bag. Inside a sandwich, a juice box, and the keychain. The same cheap plastic keychain Dad gave me. I almost threw it away. But then I looked at it again. It wasn't a gift. It was a warning. Nothing free is ever free. 3 months later, we moved into a new apartment. Small. Clean. Ours. No hidden debts. No forged contracts. Just a lease with my name and my signature. Signed in daylight. I got reinstated at the hospital. My schedule was brutal. The shifts long. But I was steady. People asked me if I felt vindicated. I didn't. Justice isn't a finish line. It's a detour sign, pointing you away from the wreckage. I didn't win. I survived. And sometimes survival is the loudest victory. Callum pled out. Gideon never did. He died in hospice. No trial. No apology. No reckoning. But in the end, maybe that was punishment enough. Some ghosts are too proud to haunt you. They just leave silence behind. I sat with Noah one night, watching the skyline shimmer through our window. Why did they do it? He asked. I thought about the answer. About greed. About legacy. About fear of being ordinary. They wanted more, I said softly, even when they already had everything. He nodded. Will they come back? Maybe, I said, but we're not afraid of shadows anymore. He leaned against me. Small. Safe. Real. I kissed his forehead and whispered, we only inherit what we don't choose to break. Because the truth is, families don't just pass down names. They pass down debts, secrets, silence, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a chance to end the cycle.